This is Costa Rica, and so is this, and so is this.
Oh, this is crazy.
We're Jamie and Skylar, and we recently spent 8 days road tripping in this ridiculously beautiful country. And while Costa Rica may be small, it's absolutely huge on adventure, with countless hikes, waterfalls, beaches, and views packed in a country the size of West Virginia. We spent our 8 days in Costa Rica trying to see as much of it as possible. And in this video, we're taking you with us on the entire adventure, from the scenic highs to the terrifying lows.
Three. I can't do it. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
And everywhere in between.
This bird doesn't even have rails on it.
The first day of our Costa Rica adventure began at the Orlando airport, where we'd be boarding a direct flight on Spirit Airlines to Costa Rica's capital and by far its largest city, San Jose. Now, Spirit gets a bad rap from some people because it's a budget carrier, the cabins aren't the most spacious, and you don't get an included carry-on bag or drinks and snacks. But we got our flights with Spirit for just around $220 round trip per person, and we usually have pretty good luck with them. And this flight was no exception, as we boarded on time and touched down in San Jose around 20 minutes before our scheduled arrival time. As you can probably tell, I was pretty excited to be back in Costa Rica.
So after around a 2.5-hour flight from Orlando and about 40 minutes in customs, we are now waiting for our shuttle to pick up our rental car, and then we'll be on the road.
Now, while we show you a bit of footage driving through San Jose, we want to point out that we reserved our 8-day rental car ahead of time through Priceline for just over $220.
Hey, I'm happy with our ride.
We did have to pay an additional $200 or so for liability insurance, as our Geico policy did not cover rental cars abroad. We did not have to purchase collision insurance though, as we booked the car using our Chase business card, which has built-in collision coverage, a pretty amazing feature which has saved us a lot of money. Budget did initially try to give us a 2-wheel drive vehicle, but after pointing out that we had clearly paid for a 4-wheel drive SUV, they did give us a vehicle with all-wheel drive, which, as you'll see later, would really come in handy.
We're getting out of the city.
Yeah, you gotta watch out for those speed bumps though.
Thankfully, we made it out of San Jose before dark, but our adventure didn't end there, as we'd still have around 40 miles of narrow mountain roads to get to our first Airbnb.
Okay, so we're stopping because we have to wait for traffic to come through this bridge.
But in typical Costa Rica fashion, even while waiting in nighttime traffic, we had a waterfall view.
This road is pretty bumpy.
After a slow 2-hour drive through some less than ideal driving conditions, we finally reached our country Airbnb, which made us feel right at home. But before hitting the bed, we made a quick drive to nearby Venecia to grab some groceries at Econo Mas, and perhaps the best fast food chicken we've ever tasted at Pollo Landia.
Alright, Jimmy, you want to talk about how good this chicken is?
It's really good.
12 pieces of this chicken cost us $6.60, plus this drink. Great deal. Good morning, guys. It's our second day here in Costa Rica. It's 5:30 in the morning, which is much earlier than we normally get up, but as you can see, it is very much daylight already, and since the sun sets at around 5 o'clock in the evening here, we got to get our days going early. Now, we're eating a couple of the pastries that we got from the grocery store last night for breakfast, as well as some instant cappuccino, because we knew we'd be on the road today before the coffee shops opened, and we didn't know if our Airbnb would actually have a coffee machine or not.
Now, we don't know what either of these are called, but we asked the staff working what their favorite was, and they chose this one. And then we also chose this one because it looked like it might have caramel in it.
We're gonna try the staff favorite first. Very good.
Oh, let's see what's inside. Very flaky. It's sweet, but it's very good. How cute is this place? It's too bad we can't stay here a few more days. Skylar's locking it up so we can head out. Bye, little house. All right, here we go.
If you're enjoying this video so far and want to see many more Costa Rican adventures and more Costa Rican dogs, be sure to subscribe to our channel.
It is day 2 here in Costa Rica, and we are now 2 for 2 for arriving in Costa Rica and having to drive in the dark, in the rain, to our Airbnb.
And in the mountains.
And in the mountains. But we made it, and we cannot wait to show you more of this beautiful country.
Our Sunday morning drive had us heading southbound towards the Poas volcano, a nearly 9,000-foot active volcano which has erupted 40 times since 1828. Along this drive, we found a sign for a different waterfall at nearly every turn, but we had one particular destination in mind, and that was Cascadas Pozo Azul, a group of several waterfalls, including the largest waterfall located within the Bajos del Toro region, which is known for being one of the most remote and beautiful areas of Costa Rica. After a few miles of driving down some pretty sketchy but extremely beautiful roads, we were ready for the first of many big adventures on this trip.
Now, as you can see, there are a ton of waterfalls on this property here. Now, we have limited time today though, so we're gonna focus on getting to the last waterfall because we know we wanna make it there. And then along the way back, we'll show you as many as we can. Oh my gosh, I already got mud on myself. It didn't even look like it was that muddy, but I guess it is. Looks like there's more restrooms and changing rooms, just a short walk from the reception area. And they also have these cabins. You can hear people down there. I think that's the first waterfall. There might be a slide down that way. I'm sure Skylar will want to go down it on the way back.
On the way back.
Yep. All right.
So from my research, it sounds like you can easily spend an entire day here, and I already see why. We've already passed trails to probably 3 or 4 different waterfalls. Each of them seem to require a little bit of a hike. So if you want to visit every one of the waterfalls on this property, I can see why you could easily spend an entire day here. So the wide grassy path has now turned into a more narrow rocky path that goes into the forest. The stairs have started. I did read that coming back up these stairs is the hardest part of the whole trail. I think we're really thankful for these hiking sticks right now because these stairs are muddy and there's a lot of them. So the sticks definitely going to help us stay upright and hopefully save our knees as well.
What is that thing across the river? Do you get to go on that?
Yep.
What? Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
As you can probably tell, I did pretty much all the planning on this trip, and I think Jamie's gonna be in for a lot of surprises.
Oh my gosh, this is crazy. So Skylar just informed me that we're gonna get to go across the river on this thing.
It's not that far of a fall.
Oh my gosh. Now you can also go down there and walk across on the rocks, but you know, we're gonna do this.
All right, get in.
Oh my gosh. Are we gonna do it together or just one at a time?
No, together.
Together?
Yeah, we could do it one at a time.
And that might be kind of cool.
Okay, we'll do it one at a
Hang
time.
on, I'm not in here yet. Oh my gosh.
Piece of cake, right?
I don't know, we'll see whenever I'm over the middle part of it.
Can you go faster, please?
Hey, I'm gonna enjoy it. I think we both could have fit in here, but it would have been a tight fit. All right, so I am stopped in the middle over this river. Here's a view from my little basket on one side. Here's Skylar over there recording something. And there's the other side of the river. And now I gotta pull myself over there. This is a pretty cool surprise. I had no idea that we'd be able to do this out here today. Obviously Skylar knew and he was keeping it a secret. Oh man. It does get a little hard at the end. All right. I'm out and now it's going back over to pick up Skylar. He's really much faster than I was. Oh look, he made it! It was a nice ride, huh?
With the river crossing behind us, it was time to hike the rest of the way to the furthest waterfall, which unfortunately meant climbing up and down a lot more stairs.
Because we're here in November, it's like the end of the rainy season. Everything is so green. All these rocks are just full of moss.
Just so you guys all know, this is what the stairs you got to deal with look like. They're pretty good stairs. Some of them are taller than others, and they're definitely wet and muddy, but going up them I'd say is much safer than coming down, because coming down you have the slip risk. I would say they're not too physically taxing. Just take your time and be careful on the mud to make sure you don't fall. So we made it to the big lookout point, which makes me think we are pretty close to the big falls already. We'll find out soon.
There's a line of the leaf bugs.
Oh, leaf cutters?
Yeah.
Okay. You can probably see a lot of moving leaves down there. That's because they're being carried by ants, which I believe are known as leaf cutters. We do remember from our last time in Costa Rica that these ants definitely do bite, and you do not want to walk through them. So if you see these guys, make sure you step over them. We made it to the bottom of all these stairs, and hopefully no more stairs till the last waterfall.
I think there's gonna be some more.
You think so?
Yeah.
We almost there yet?
We're gonna be close.
We can't go down too much further, can we? So eventually the stairs did seem to end, but as you can see, it's more just natural stairs now. A lot of rocks and roots. But the good news is, I'm not sure if you can hear, but the waterfall's getting pretty loud, so we're thinking we're close. All right, we seem to have made it to some sort of clearing now. I hope that means the waterfall's close. Jamie is not as optimistic as I am, but I think it's right around the corner. You see it?
Yes.
Awesome.
I had no idea it was right next to us.
That's the tallest waterfall we've ever seen in person by far, right? I know you're probably beginning to question it for a while, but what do you think? Worth it?
Yeah, worth it. Oh my gosh, yeah. You just feel that mist?
Yep, this is what we came here for.
At 508 feet tall, the Catarata Caída Nieve y Paz was easily the tallest waterfall we'd seen in Costa Rica. But just a few days later, we'd visit one that was even taller, so make sure to tune in to our future Costa Rica episodes so you don't miss that adventure.
This is a massive waterfall. Skylar went down a little bit closer to the waterfall. Skylar looks so tiny compared to this giant waterfall. But I'm hanging out here just enjoying the mist from the falls. I will go down and join him shortly though. This is what Skylar lives for. Look at that waterfall. So I came down to where Skylar was, and now I am getting pretty wet. I just wanted to make it here and touch the water. And he got even closer to the falls, so I think he's probably gonna be soaked.
Ooh. Really wet here, but pretty freaking cool view.
I can already tell, watching him come back, that he is soaked.
So we started this day not even knowing for sure if we'd be able to come to this waterfall because we did pass a sign saying that it was closed on Sundays. Thankfully it wasn't though, and that sign may be part of the reason why we actually have this place all to ourselves. And as you can see, it is massive and it is awesome.
Now the hike here was pretty challenging, and I was beginning to question whether or not it was worth it.
This hike was a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it.
But as soon as I saw this waterfall, I knew it was. Now I'm not sure, but I think where we went across the river on that cart is just past where that waterfall starts. All right, we'll see you at the top. Taking a quick break, getting mentally prepared for these stairs.
They're
a lot
steep,
of them. Yeah.
After a few minutes of exhausting, mostly uphill hiking, we arrived at the Miradores, a great spot to snap a few photos.
All right, we made it back to the little stream crossing here, which is 155 meters from the waterfall. And it looks like back there, we're thinking is the lookout. Hopefully we can see the top of the waterfall from, we'll see. I'd say this is the top of the waterfall. Now, if this hike is a little too challenging for you, you won't be able to see the waterfall from the bottom, but as long as you're not afraid of heights, you will be able to see it from the top. The cart is occupied coming over, so we're taking this route back. They got 3 people in there? Really testing the weight limits of that cart.
All right, we've got some more waterfalls to show you.
And we're happy to inform you that the remaining waterfalls were all much easier to access. And while none of them compared in size to our first waterfall stop, they still had plenty to offer, including a spot for Skylar to get in his shower for the day. With 2 stops down, it was time to move on to number 3, which offered a smaller waterfall and a nice calm spot for swimming. And for those who are a little more adventurous, it's here that you can also do some cliff jumping, an opportunity which Skylar can never pass up.
All right, this is a little bit scary. Sure.
Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
With the first of several cliff jumps on this trip in the books, it was time to move on to waterfall number 4.
So this is another pool that you can swim in. So like we said earlier, you could stay here all day if you wanted to.
So there is a water slide, but as you can see, there's not a whole lot of water flowing down it, and it's also made out of concrete. Looks more painful than fun, I
I
think.
know, I didn't think it would be good for my back.
We got more waterfalls still today. We got a big hike tomorrow, and this looks like it could be a potential tailbone injury, so
Yeah, we're gonna pass.
going on to the next spot.
Our final waterfall at Cascadas Pozo Azul was the smallest of the 5, but also the closest to the entrance. And while it was a beautiful and calming spot, we were starting to get a bit tired and hungry, so it was time to be on our way.
So just as we finished our waterfall hikes, it started raining. Our timing couldn't have been much better. Now the food that they're cooking at this place does smell amazing, but I think we're gonna head a little bit down the road towards our next waterfall destination.
Oh my god! Ah!
And try to find some food along the way.
I think the sign that said it was closed Sunday was for Blue Falls and not the actual waterfall that we just came from. So, makes a lot more sense to us now.
Yeah. Can't go to Blue Falls on Sunday, but you can go to Azul. What's the one we went to?
It was like the Azul, I don't know, I'll have to look up the name of it.
The one we went to had Azul in the name, which also means blue, right? So
Yeah.
easy to mix them up.
While we may have been quite confused about where we had come from, we did know exactly where we were going, at least for our next stop.
So it's still raining. We decided to stop off at this coffee shop that we passed by on our way to the next waterfall. And we have a view of the volcano. It is so pretty up here.
Ready for coffee?
Although there weren't many options for coffee in this remote area of Costa Rica, the reviews for this spot were good, and almost anything would be better than the instant cappuccino we had earlier in the morning.
Our first real Costa Rican coffee of the trip. What do you think?
It's good. Yeah.
Better than our cappuccino this morning?
Since we can't survive on coffee alone, we decided to order some traditional Costa Rican casados too, which came out looking amazing and tasting even better.
Well, for now, it is only sprinkling. We are going to head out to our next waterfall, and we'll see what the conditions are like when we get there. So it is now pouring down rain. Timing worked in our favor today, because yeah, if we would have been at the bottom of that waterfall and still had to hike up all those muddy stairs.
Look at that road. You see it up there?
Oh yeah,
It
I
goes
do.
straight up
Oh my gosh. Ooh, pothole.
Yeah.
Ooh, going over a bridge. I think that we're probably driving up that road, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That looks straight up.
While driving through the Costa Rican mountains can be a bit intimidating, it can also be a whole lot of fun, provided you have a four-wheel drive vehicle with good ground clearance and are not in any sort of hurry. Would you drive in the Costa Rican mountains, or would you stick to buses and taxis? Let us know in the comments.
This bridge doesn't even have rails on it. It doesn't.
What's Tesca de Truches?
I don't know.
Let's see.
No?
That way.
I don't know that I want to find out. I don't even know what any of those words mean. While Skylar uses our Google Translator, I want to show you this bridge again that we have to drive over. It has absolutely no railings.
We gotta figure out what Pesca de Truchas means.
Oh, just like a fish farm maybe? Trout fishing. All right, I say we can probably skip it.
We can skip the trout fishing.
Yeah, we can skip the
All right,
the
no trout fishing for us, I guess.
All right, well,
We'll
let's
try
go back.
to see if we can find another waterfall instead.
Let's go back over this bridge. Carefully, please. All right, so this next waterfall stop, Skylar has GPS coordinates. Sometimes those are great. Sometimes those lead us to who knows where. So stick around to find out where we're going.
At least we got 2 hours before it gets dark.
Yeah, we've got time, and it's only supposed to be 2 minutes away.
Oh, back to the rocky road.
All right, here we go. From concrete to rocks. Be ready for some wiggling around. So we are currently turning it around. So these coordinates, I guess, led us to a farm. There's no sign of this waterfall anywhere.
This is the road I've ever seen in my life. And there's this farm at the end of it on the side of a volcano. It was pretty cool.
The drive was very pretty, but quite muddy and bumpy. But still, Skylar loves driving around on these roads.
The more remote, the better.
Oh, this is crazy. I don't think we've ever come across this before. Hi.
You never know what you might see. Back road, mountain driving in Costa Rica.
Yep. Oh my gosh, it makes me so nervous. Holy crap. Oh my gosh. Thank goodness for Skylar. We would like never go to any of these places because I'd be so nervous to drive over them. I would see it and just be like, all right, we're turning around. Even when it's raining, it's so pretty here. Look! Oh, Pesca de Truchas. Not a waterfall.
I don't know why there's a bull on it when it's trout
Look,
fishing.
there's another sign over there, and that one has a fish.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, you want to just go right? So at this point, we're pretty much just driving around aimlessly. Basically, we just decided we'd keep driving down this main road to hit one of the other waterfalls up, but then we saw a sign for a national park, and it looked like the road to the national park also led into the mountains, and we thought it'd be cool to check out.
So we went from following GPS coordinates to just following signs on the road. We're about to find out if these signs are even accurate. I don't know if you can tell how bumpy it is. I don't know, is it gonna lead us to a national park? What do you think?
I mean, that's what the sign said.
That is what the
I
sign
mean, we
said.
might be in the national park. I haven't seen a house for like 2 miles.
Right, but there also have been absolutely no other signs. It looks like the road ends ahead, so I'll let you know what we find. All right, so this led to a sign that said camping and volcano views.
Yeah.
The map doesn't show that there's even a road here, so...
We probably shouldn't take it. I kind of want to, though.
I know you do, but gosh, without a little bit more planning, we're probably gonna have to turn around. So GPS coordinates we struck out, following random signs we struck out.
I don't think we struck out on either of them, actually. They were not where we planned on going,
Exactly.
but...
I'm not saying that we still didn't have a good time, but they didn't get us to where we thought we were gonna go.
So many waterfalls already. I'm honestly not even that excited about going and seeing one, especially in the rain. It's
Yeah,
like,
let's go do something else. We found another waterfall. This one's not quite as big or as pretty.
While we had to give up on waterfall chasing for this day, we weren't too disappointed as we knew we had several more waterfall adventures ahead of us.
So I think we decided that we are going to head towards our Airbnb because it's almost a 2-hour drive. And if something pops up along the way that draws us in, then we'll stop.
I think this sign is a pretty accurate depiction of these roads. They're definitely going into the clouds. I thought we were at the top of the volcano and then we just continued to go straight up for like another 2 miles.
Wow, like we are in a cloud. There are these mountain cows out here. That's crazy to see them. I'm not even driving, but I'm like tensing all my muscles just because of the driving conditions. So thank you for driving, otherwise we would never get to see any of these places. Look at this cow! I mean, how do you get up here?
So the fog finally cleared up just long enough to get this view from the side of the road. Look at that.
Wow. Even cloudy and stormy. This is gorgeous.
Now after 4 p.m. and only around an hour before sunset, we'd have to get moving to avoid having to drive through San Jose in the dark, because as much as we love driving through the Costa Rican countryside, we hate driving through San Jose.
I always forget how much I love driving in these mountains, whether it's Costa Rica or Puerto Rico or somewhere else in the Caribbean. Holy cow!
Oh yeah.
That was close.
In 200 meters, continue straight.
Due to the less than ideal driving conditions and a couple of traffic jams, we didn't make it to our Airbnb before dark, but we did make it there in one piece.
So we ended up stopping by a grocery store and grabbing these taco things out of the freezer. We decided we'd just come here and cook them up because honestly we were a little excited about getting here, and we'll show you why after we're done eating. We did pretty good.
Taquitos were a good decision.
So this is why we were really excited to get to our Airbnb, because it has a view of San Jose, but that does mean we had to go through San Jose traffic, which can be crazy, but it was totally worth it. And I think in the morning we're probably gonna have a view of some mountains over there. Good morning. We woke up to all sorts of nature sounds, birds, chickens, dogs, and this view of the mountain. Skylar says that's the one that we're going to be hiking today. That looks pretty high. When we got up this morning, you could see the peak, but already the clouds have moved in. And over here is a view of the city. We pretty much booked this Airbnb for this view. But after we got here and saw how nice it was for $50 a night, we kind of wish we were staying a few more days. But once again, we're gonna have to get going early for a hike. We good to head out?
Yep, do it.
All right.
See you later, buddy.
Our third day in Costa Rica started off in search of the trailhead to Pico Blanco, our starting point for our hike to the nearly 8,000-foot high peak. Once again, we were relying on GPS coordinates, which led us down another bad road to another pretty remote area.
So we drove up this crazy road, and we talked to a nice woman up there who said that we can park our car here. Thank goodness though that Skylar has that translator app. So we do think some people will probably drive further up on this road, but I'm glad we didn't try it. Oh yeah, look at this area here. It's pretty rough.
So we were a little bit bummed that we didn't find walking sticks at this trailhead like we did on our hike yesterday, but it didn't take us too long of hiking up this trail to find some pretty good ones on the side of the path. So we are about half a mile into our hike to Pico Blanco. It's a 5.5-mile loop trail, and depending on who you ask, it's either moderately difficult or very difficult, probably depending on your experience level and also the conditions of the trail, how muddy it is and how much it has been raining that day. So we did just meet a mountain biker on this path. He didn't speak any English, but we could understand that he said Pico Blanco was that tall peak straight in front of us. So we're definitely on the right path. We are in the end of rainy season right now, but it seems that it stays pretty dry in the morning generally, and then sometime in the afternoon you do get some pretty heavy rains. We're starting this hike just a little after 8 a.m. and it's supposed to be a 4-hour hike or so that would put us back around noon, and hopefully we'll beat the rains. We definitely do not want to be hiking down the mountain when it's pouring rain. So this part of the trail, about 2/3 of a mile in, is actually downhill and concrete, so we're definitely making some pretty good time through this section. And we got a pretty amazing view over there as well. So this section of the hike around 3/4 of a mile in is so beautiful. You got country views to the right and city views to the left. Both are equally scenic. All right guys, we are about a mile into the hike now, and here's the view we got of the city. We're getting a little higher and the views are getting a little better. And even looking straight forward is really beautiful. We just love this trail so far. And there's Jamie way ahead of me because I've been stopping to take shots of the scenery, and she is trying to maintain a pace, which is probably a good idea. So we've come to our first fork here. This is the path that we have to go down. And to the left is another little trail. We have no idea where that goes. All right, we've encountered our first almost straight up section. Now it is starting to feel like a hike. Definitely some really steep spots, a lot of clay. You can tell it's rained pretty recently, but it's not super slick. It would definitely get slick real quick if it were to start raining though. So keeping our fingers crossed that the rains hold off today. Now, those of you who know our channel know that typically Jamie does talk a lot more in our videos, but she is just focused on keeping up a good pace on this trail, and I do not blame her because we do not want to be coming back in the rain. Jamie, 1.5 miles in, what are you thinking of the hike so far?
It's a little more challenging than I expected it to be starting off. We haven't even made it to the loop yet.
As you can tell, I am definitely pretty out of breath too, so I can't say it's not challenging, but also we are trying to keep a really good pace, so I'd say we're hiking a little faster than we normally would, and we're filming. So the combination of trying to hike fast and filming along the way definitely makes it a little harder, makes you burn a little more energy than you probably would otherwise. I'm still enjoying it though. You do definitely want to wear your best hiking shoes on this hike because you will want that extra grip. Jamie also does recommend a hiking stick, and I think I agree with that.
So Skylar has led us to the loop trail where we have to decide to go left or right. All Trail says it's better to go left.
If you keep going left, it's a much more direct route to the top of the mountain. But if you just want the easiest way and you don't care about seeing the whole loop, you could take the right route up and back down. And if you just really like to torture yourself, I suppose you could take the left route up and down. So far, the first section of the actual loop portion of the trail is very narrow, a little overgrown, not too bad though. Definitely a little bit muddy, not too slick yet. Overall, not too bad. All right, we've reached a little bit of a clearing here. Looks like we'll have some views off to the left. We're probably about 1 2/3 miles into the hike now. As you can see, we got some more great views of San Jose, and the trail's actually leveled out a little bit. Yeah, hopefully we can really make some good time through this section because we know there's gonna be much harder and slower sections coming up.
Now, as we continue to make our way towards the top of Pico Blanco, we do want to mention another reason that we were really trying to complete this hike quickly, and that's because we'd be driving all the way to Uvita after the hike, and we really wanted to take the scenic route. Winding through the inland mountains of Costa Rica, Route 2 is known for being one of the most beautiful drives in the entire country, but also one of its most dangerous. In fact, a section of Route 2 between Cartago and San Isidro is known as Cerro de la Muerte, or the Hill of Death, as its steep, winding roads, poor visibility, and frequent rock falls can make it incredibly dangerous during poor weather conditions and at night. And since we were only willing to navigate the Hill of Death in the daylight, we'd have to get the drive started early.
So we're about 2 miles into the hike now, I think, and from the reviews we read, a lot of people said once you get towards the top of the mountain, you're probably not going to get many good views, but we are getting close to the top of the mountain, and look at these views that we got. If these aren't good, I don't know what is. Best view of the hike yet.
Yeah.
Oh man, I wish we had more time to enjoy it. I think the reason people say you don't get good views towards the top is because oftentimes there are low clouds. If we were 2-3 hours later in the day, we probably wouldn't have a view right now, but we really timed this right, I think. Glad we got on the trail early. I think we're coming up to the 2 mile mark here, which means we gotta be getting close to the summit.
We've been walking through this really thick brush, and then these are just here. Like, how cool is that?
Giant aloe plants.
Yeah.
We weren't expecting that.
No.
Starting to get overgrown again here. We've been seeing a lot of this in the last quarter mile or so, but there's also butterflies flying all over. Even though it's overgrown, it's still pretty scenic. This kind of came out of nowhere. I was not expecting this, but check this out.
Oh, wow, yeah.
What do you think?
Oh my gosh.
And you got flowers over to your left,
This is a great view.
and then look to the right.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know if you can see this on camera at all, but we can see our breath when we breathe up here. Which, I know the temperature isn't cold enough. Like, that happens all the time where we're from in the Midwest in the winter, where you can see your breath when it's really cold, but it can't be less than 70 degrees or so right here. But we can definitely see our breath. If any of you out there know why that is, let us know. It's starting to get a lot more humid. I think we're getting into the section of the trail that is frequently in the clouds because even though it's not actively raining, the trail is getting much more wet. The pace has come down, lots of mud. The last little bit of this hike to the summit, probably last half mile or so, I'd say, it's gotten pretty steep, and we're having to go pretty slow and we're still really out of breath. Lots of down trees in this section. So you do have areas like this on the trail that are a little tricky. Got to kind of use some climbing skills, but they're pretty few and far between. So we're starting to be able to see big patches of sky ahead. That's a good sign. Oh, I think we made it. Look above you.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea. I'm so happy.
That was kind of anticlimactic. Didn't even realize we were here for the first 10 seconds. You're just catching your breath, huh?
Yeah. Thank goodness for that sign.
We do not read Spanish, but we're pretty certain that that says we've reached the summit or the peak. Something along those lines. Doesn't look like there's much for views around here, so we probably won't be spending too much time here. Just long enough to scarf down a Cliff Bar and some water and start heading back.
Yeah.
All right, good job.
Good job to you.
Well,
I would say this is a difficult hike. I would.
I'd say it's the second or third hardest hike we've ever done.
Cassava chips. Whatever these things are. And these. And Cliff Bars.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but we're definitely not taking it.
Now to leave to La Carrilla y San Miguel.
Overall, it took about 2.5 hours to hike 2.8 miles up the mountain, but we agreed that we probably could have done it in under 2 if we hadn't been filming. And since the hike back would involve more downhill hiking and less filming, we were hopeful that it would go much more quickly.
Time to head back down the mountain.
Alright, Skylar left his stick at the top, but thankfully we did not get too far. There he
It didn't take me
comes.
long to realize I was missing something.
Yeah, something that you're definitely going to need on the way down.
Yes.
Because look at this mud.
It does look like the clouds are starting to roll in. Thank goodness we're on our way down now. So far the hike down has been very muddy, but I think we're keeping a pretty good pace. It's much less strenuous. We're not breathing heavy like at all.
But more muddy.
Definitely more muddy. Definitely got to be careful.
Yeah.
You don't want to slip in the mud and fall off the edge of the mountain. I'd say coming down is easier, but also more dangerous. If we can maintain this pace the rest of the way back, we'll be back in an hour, but I have a feeling it's not going to be all like this. Lots of ferns in this section of the trail.
Oh, I love fern gully sections.
Yeah, we've reached the fern gully portion of the trail. Kind of steep, kind of muddy, but pretty leisurely.
Yeah.
Oh wow, we got another awesome viewpoint up here.
Oh my gosh! Check out this viewpoint.
Haven't checked all trails in a while. I'm guessing we're about half a mile down from the summit.
Yeah, so even though we are in the clouds, you can still see the city very well.
Yeah. Man, I feel like we are hiking this on the perfect day though.
Yeah.
We've had great views the whole way. It's nice and cool up here. We got in the clouds a little bit, but no rain. Even if it does rain, hopefully we'll be well over halfway down by the time it does.
Yeah. This might change, but so far the trail down is significantly less strenuous. So I think that if somebody wanted to hike up to that point, you could go out and back on this side of it and it wouldn't be near as strenuous, but I also don't think you would see near as many great views along the way.
We've reached our first nice flat part of the hike on this side.
Yeah, this is a nice change.
Another nice change about the hike back was that we spotted several red paint trail markers on the trees, which let us know we were on the right path back without having to constantly check our All Trails app.
How low can you go?
Oh my gosh, I want to go this way. All right, I made it.
More graceful than me.
It didn't feel very graceful. So good news, not only did we find another trail marker, but we found a nice view right next to it. This is another area that is just totally different from the rest of the hike.
I love this area.
So cool. Yeah, it's like you're in a different world.
So, sections of this trail going down do have this barbed wire fence directly to the left of you. So you want to be extra careful not to slip, because if you were to slip and fall into that barbed wire, that would be bad news. I guess it'd be better than falling off the edge of a cliff, but it still would be far from good.
Not paying attention.
You could easily go off the edge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a bit of a fall. Good thing the barbed wire would stop you. I don't know, we're maybe 1.5 to 2 miles down the mountain now, and we're starting to hear some running water. It almost sounds like a waterfall. You obviously know we've already seen a lot of waterfalls and plan on seeing a lot more while we're here in Costa Rica, but based on the sound of it, we might get to see one that we weren't expecting to see. Just a little stream? All right. Well, I'm glad I wore my waterproof socks right now. Jamie's gonna have to try to not walk in the water. Definitely doesn't compare to the waterfalls we saw yesterday, but still nice unexpected surprise.
So on this side, you don't have views of the city, but you have views of this. So I think we were like somewhere up there, probably in the thick of those trees.
I know initially we said there's not as good of views on this side of the loop, but we've really hit a section here where we got some really nice views for a pretty extended period of time.
Another great view.
Yeah, these do not get old.
Nope. It's nice that they're like scattered along the trail too. I think I might hear a car. Might just be wishful thinking now that we're closer.
All right, guys, we completed the loop.
We made it back!
Yeah. Well, we're not done yet.
No.
We still gotta hike the non-loop portion back to our vehicle, but we've definitely completed the hard part.
High five! Yeah.
So I think we only got a little over a half mile to go now, and we just heard our first thunder. Thankfully, it did sound like it was a ways away. We definitely could still get rained on, but if we do, it would definitely suck, but we're very confident we're gonna get back in one piece.
We are almost back to the car, and look at these clouds. We are hearing some thunder. The rain will be coming soon. We gotta pick up the pace.
Yeah, I keep hearing that thunder.
Yeah.
At this point, I think we'd both rather be walking uphill than down, so pretty steep hill ahead, but that's okay.
We're not gonna have to walk down it though.
I know. One thing we didn't mention is that we didn't see any other people on our hike. Maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe we're crazy for hiking this trail when we did during the rainy season. I don't know, but thankfully everything went really well. That is our rental straight ahead. It is still there. There is a chicken under it, but it's there.
Alright, that's great. Look at how pretty this chicken is. There's so many chickens here.
As crazy as it sounds, the second we got back to the car, it started sprinkling.
Yeah, I think they said we got back just in time.
All right, guys, so we thought we were making a really good pace. We thought we'd be back by noon or maybe 1 at the latest, but we didn't get back till 2 o'clock because we didn't get back to the car till 2. We're not gonna be able to do the drive through the mountains. We're not gonna be able to go on the Death Hill because we would be driving through it in the dark, which sounds very unsafe from what I've read. We're hoping that we still might be able to drive that mountain road on the way back to San Jose, but we're really hoping you enjoyed this hike, and we'll see you in Uvita.
While it doesn't have the mountain views that you'll find along Route 2, the drive along Route 34 is pretty beautiful in its own right. Now, because we did much of this drive in the dark and we were quite tired, we didn't film a whole lot of this drive, but we did still catch some pretty great views. Along the way, we grabbed some delicious key lime pie and much needed coffee at Cafecitos in Oratina. We also stopped by an amazing fruit stand somewhere along Route 34 where we sampled and purchased some tropical fruits. With the end of daylight approaching, we just had to drop by La Fiesta del Morisco.
I was just telling Jamie how awesome it would be if we could find a bar along the beach to catch sunset, because sunset is in like 15 minutes. And then we came along this place.
Perfect.
I know, we couldn't have timed it much better.
The beaches here are so different than what we're used to. They are dark beaches. Gotta get our sunset drinks. We asked if they had any fresh juice here, and they had a ton to choose from. I asked the waiter what his favorite was, and he recommended pineapple juice with peppermint, and I had never tried it before, and it is delicious.
After enjoying a couple drinks, along with our first beachfront sunset of the trip, we were back on the road. And after grabbing a quick dinner just outside of Dominical, we arrived at our Airbnb in the beautiful beach town of Uvita. Our fourth day in Costa Rica began with a giant iced coffee from Quetuana's Cafe. We then began the drive to what we thought was the entrance to Marina Ballena National Park. But as Google Maps often does in Costa Rica, it took us to the middle of nowhere. We eventually located the actual park entrance, where we found nearby parking for around $4 American.
We're here at the park and there are just a ton of monkeys in these trees.
After hanging out with the monkeys and paying another $6 per adult entrance fee, we could finally enter the park. Of all the spots we visited on our travels, the Whale's Tail is surely one of the most unique, and if you're wondering how it got its name, this should answer it for you. But in addition to its coastline forming a distinct shape of a whale's tail, the name is quite fitting for another reason as well. This spot is also known for its amazing whale watching, as hundreds of humpback whales migrate through the area each and every year. While we weren't lucky enough to spot a humpback, we didn't regret visiting the Whale's Tail a bit, as the sheer beauty of this tropical paradise is reason to visit alone. As we made our way out to the tail of the whale, we noticed that the majority of beachgoers were headed back towards the shore, meaning we'd have this magnificent stretch of beach nearly all to ourselves.
So we have made it out to the tail. To the left, we've got one side of the tail. To the right, we've got the other side of the tail. And looking back at land is the whale's body. Now very soon this will all be underwater.
And as the tide continues to come in, the water from each side will get stronger, and eventually there'll be big waves that run into each other and make a vertical splash. I'm not sure if we'll be around long enough to see that this time, but we definitely witnessed that the last time we were in Costa Rica.
When we were here in Costa Rica last time, we missed low tide by several hours. In this area where people are walking, it was completely covered in water, maybe about 2-3 foot deep. And we might put just a little bit of footage that we took, but this was like 7 or 8 years ago. So we were not really filming for a channel and the footage is not that good, but I still think it's really cool to see those waves like crashing against each other, because you can't really see that other places.
No, this is definitely pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now when we walked out to the Whale's Tail like 15 minutes ago, we had to go through like maybe an inch of water, and it's gonna get deeper fast.
We're getting ready for the walk back through the water. We'll let you know how deep it gets. We've got our dry bag filled with anything that we don't want wet. The currents are a little strong. They pull you one way and then they pull you the other way. But so far it's only been like 1 to 2 foot deep.
So we're only like 3 hours maybe past low tide right now, and already the whale's entire body is submerged. All you can see is the tail and a little bit of the head over there.
Some of these waves have definitely been waist deep.
As the tides continued to rise at the Whale's Tail, it was time for us to head back to shore. And after taking in some more of these breathtaking beach views, we were ready to move on to our next adventure of the day, but not before one more quick stop to watch the monkeys.
Not sure if you can tell, but that monkey has a baby on its back. Wow, they're all over in this bamboo.
So after starting the day with coffee and the Whale's Tail, we're gonna go grab some lunch and then show you another waterfall. Skylar searched for a restaurant with a view here in Uvita. I think he found a good one.
So far it's looking promising.
Yeah, so we did have to drive up a pretty steep, narrow road, and we briefly met a tour bus, but we were able to go into a driveway and get past just fine. Look at that view.
Yeah, I think that will work. Let's get that table right there.
All right. Wow, I say you found a pretty good spot.
So that's where we were an hour ago.
Yeah,
like a tiny bit of the tail is still above water.
Yeah, if you look, you can see kind of the line of the waves to the area that we walked out to. For a quick Google for a place with a view.
Yeah. This wasn't even on our radar 15 minutes ago.
No. Oh my gosh, this is gorgeous.
So they had a bunch of different fresh juices, including fresh passion fruit juice. So I got fresh passion fruit blended with ice and with a shot of rum. That was so good.
And with this view.
For my drink, I went with a fresh guanabana juice, which was a bit tart, a bit sweet, and absolutely delicious. While not every restaurant in Costa Rica has the variety of fresh tropical juices that this spot did, it seemed that most restaurants had at least a few, which is one of our favorite things about Costa Rica. Another thing that is widely available throughout Costa Rica is fresh ceviche, and while Skylar made this his lunch order, I went with the garlic fish fillet. Both dishes were great, and while the prices were a little steep for Costa Rica standards, we were more than happy to pay them to get these views.
So that lunch spot was totally worth it. And even if you're not looking for a meal, if you just want to come up for a drink or like a fresh juice, the views are worth the drive up here.
After a morning on the whale's tail and a lunch with a view, it was time to find another waterfall. Thankfully, this spot was just a couple of miles outside of Uvita, and we knew exactly how to get there. After a short but pretty slow drive on some more steep and very bumpy roads, we arrived at the entrance to Catarata Uvita, where you'll find access to the waterfalls for around $4 per person and also a restaurant.
So we're heading down to the waterfall now. We can already hear it, so it can't be too far away. And we were just told by the owner that we should be watching out for snakes, and apparently they are venomous. So keep your eyes on the ground, Jamie.
Will do.
After a couple minutes on the trail and just a few steps, we had reached the river, where we found markers on the rocks pointing us along the route to the waterfall. And while I can't say that getting to the waterfall was easy, it was quite a bit of fun and definitely worth the effort.
Now when we visited years ago, these cables were not here at all. We were just kind of exploring around on the boulders. It is kind of nice to have these. I'm going to stop recording those so I can actually get across this area.
Once across the river, we passed by a couple of smaller waterfalls and went back across the river again, before reaching the falls that we had come to see. While I was beyond content just relaxing and taking in the views of the falls, after spotting some guys jumping off the falls, Skylar had to join them. But since there was a ladder and Skylar promised to only go to the lowest jumping spot, I wasn't too worried.
Ready? Alright, here we go.
Since the first waterfall jump resulted in no injuries, Skylar decided to jump from a little bit higher, which made me a lot more nervous.
Be safe! Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
Jump until tomorrow.
Well, thanks to some guys from Vancouver, Canada, Skylar was able to find the right spot to jump from. I was pretty nervous about it. One of them was super nice and hung back with me to make sure that he got his footing right. But it sounds like they do some cliff jumping, so they're a little more experienced at it.
When we were here last time, there were kids jumping too, but there was no ladder back then. And also when we were here, I had already had a few drinks, so I decided against it. But this time I've only had one drink and they have a ladder, so it was much easier.
On the way back to the parking lot, we came across this green and black poison dart frog. As their name would suggest, these unique looking frogs are indeed poisonous, and while safe to observe from a distance, should definitely not be touched. Further down the trail, we came across a great pool for swimming and a fun jumping spot for those who aren't quite ready to take on the big falls.
So admission to the waterfall also comes with admission to this butterfly garden. We've seen a ton of butterflies just out on our hikes, so can't imagine how many we'll see in here.
Unfortunately, we didn't find a whole lot of butterflies in this garden, but found it to still be worth checking out just to see the beautiful tropical flowers.
So we've got a 1.5 kilometer ride up this mountain to get to our sunset spot. I think we're gonna get there maybe 10 minutes before. And we can see it a little off to the left, so it hasn't set yet, but it might go down pretty quickly.
I think I got it on rock and dirt mode.
Yeah. It is nice to have a 4-wheel drive when going up to places like this.
Every vehicle we've met has definitely had 4-wheel drive.
Yeah. I am definitely paying attention to this road because I have a feeling I'm probably going to be the one driving down it.
Oh.
We can see it. Yeah, I think we're going to have about 10 minutes before the sun actually sets.
If you're enjoying this video and want to see more of our Costa Rica content, be sure to subscribe to our channel and turn the notifications on. But for now, it's time to check out Jolly Roger. While we did arrive at this mountaintop bar and grill just in time for sunset, it had become quite overcast and there wasn't too much of one to see. But nevertheless, the views were still amazing, and this cocktail known as the Bohemian was one of Skylar's favorite drinks of the entire trip. In addition to some fantastic cocktails, Jolly Roger is also known for having great burgers and wings, but we had another spot in mind for dinner, and that was the Whaletail Brewery, which is not only Uvita's only brewery, but also has some great food and an even better atmosphere. After much consideration, Skylar went with the Wild Myco Scottish Ale, which was his favorite beer of all the beers he's tried in Costa Rica. One of my favorite things about this brewery was that they had a smoothie menu, from which I chose the Lopa Roja, which included strawberry, peppermint, and ginger, and tasted amazing in this beautifully landscaped patio area. But perhaps the coolest feature of this brewery is that this beautiful path right off the patio leads to the Whaletail Hotel.
So you could stay at the Whaletail Hotel and walk across this path right to the brewery.
After a few minutes of exploring around the property, our food order was ready, which consisted of this order of shredded chicken nachos. And while it was far from the largest order of nachos we've ever seen, they tasted amazing, especially with the little barbecue sauce on the side. We both enjoyed this brewery so much that we agreed we'd look into staying at the Whaletail Hotel for our next trip to Uvita. But after finishing our food and drinks and hanging out with the brewery cat, it was time to head back to our Airbnb to rest up for a day of beaches, caves, and waterfalls on our 5th day in Costa Rica. Our Day 5 beach destination takes us around 7 miles south of Uvita to Ojochal. It's here on the Pacific shoreline that you'll find Playa Ventanas and its famous beachfront caves.
There's the water at low tide. The caves are over to the left, which we'll get to. And you can see the beach, which is lined with these gorgeous palm trees. During high tide, this is all completely underwater, and you can't even access the caves.
Thankfully, we had learned how important it is to track the tides on our last trip to Costa Rica, so this time we had arrived shortly after morning low tide to be sure that we could walk into the caves. Of the two main caves at Playa Ventanas, the one further to the north is the largest, and the one Skylar decided to explore first.
Skylar is walking way into the cave. Alright, he's reached the water. I don't know if you can see that little dot in the middle of the light, but I think Skylar's coming back out finally. Okay, so it's definitely switched and the tide is coming in. It didn't get near this. Holy crap! This is crazy how fast the tide comes in.
The cave that lies further to the south is quite a bit smaller than the one to the north, and is definitely not for those who are claustrophobic. And although Skylar's not a huge fan of tight spaces, he decided to explore the cave anyway. While Skylar's risk appetite is much more than mine, he knew that his time in this cave was limited, as the waters in this cave can rise extremely fast, creating a very dangerous situation even for strong swimmers. Eventually, Skylar decided the water was getting a little too high for his comfort and decided to join me out on the beach.
I'm really glad we decided to come at low tide this time, and at only $4 American, I'd say this is a must visit.
Back out on the beach, we were amazed to find we still had it nearly all to ourselves on this late Wednesday morning. And while we would have loved to stick around to enjoy it for a while, we had other places to be. The first of which was Aroma Cafe, where we had already visited earlier for breakfast that morning and were extremely impressed. Now normally we don't visit the same spot twice in one trip, but our coffees and passion fruit pastry at Aroma were so delicious, we just had to make a stop back for a lunch order to go.
After Playa Ventanas, we decided to go back to the place where we had coffee at this morning because we enjoyed it so much, and we did see that they had a pretty good lunch menu. But we are booking it now to Nyaka, so we couldn't stay. We got our food to go, but we'll show you what it looks like. So we ended up getting 2 of these sandwiches, and honestly for lunch we probably could have gotten by with one. I don't think we had any idea how big they were. We ate all the fries, and now you can see the sandwich a little bit better. For what, $6 or $7 American? That's a great deal.
By the time we grabbed our sandwiches and got back on the road, it was already around noon. And since we'd have a 40-minute hike both to and from the waterfall and would have to be back to our vehicle by 4, we knew we'd have limited time to enjoy the waterfalls, so we were in a hurry.
I think we're only a couple minutes from the entrance to Nyaka Waterfalls. Now we are going to the original, which is Don Lulo's. That is less expensive if you're willing to hike both ways.
After around a 15-minute drive northeast from Dominical, we reached the office for Don Lulo's, where we purchased our tickets for $10 per person before driving another mile or so to the parking lot.
So even though this road is nice and paved, it is super narrow. We would not want to meet anybody coming up at this time, but we're pretty sure by the time we're ready to come back up on this road, nobody should be driving down. I think they stopped letting people in the park after some point in the afternoon. I think parking for the day is $4 and the parking lot closes at 4. Down here in the parking lot, they do have restrooms and changing areas, which is really nice. So we are just putting on sunscreen and staying in front of the AC as long as possible, because as soon as you step out of the car, you're like sweating immediately. It's gonna be a very hot hike today, but I think it'll be worth it to see the falls.
Ready for our adventure, we began the 2-mile hike to the waterfall, which began by crossing over the river and into the forest.
So when you go to the original entrance, you can pay $10 USD per person plus $4 to park. Or you can pay $30 per person and you can take the trucks that drive up and down. And I think it might be just like a 10-minute hike to the falls. Or you can pay, I think, $80 per person and ride horses. If you do like the $30 per person, I think that it's a limit of like 2 hours at the falls, which, you know, I think for most people that would be enough.
So we're about a half mile into the hike to the falls, and this is our view at the moment.
Pretty nice.
Very scenic. So there are a lot of really nice views on the side of this trail, but do keep in mind that there are horses on this trail as well. So make sure you don't spend too much time looking at the views, because you'll probably step in horse poop.
It does look like we're gonna have nice signs along the way to let us know how far until the waterfalls.
And today we're hiking only 4 miles, which is much better than the 6 miles we hiked 2 days ago.
So we're here on a Wednesday. I think we started hiking around noon or maybe just a little bit after. And there are quite a few people hiking on the trail.
We've reached our first choose your adventure portion of the trail. Do you take the bridge or do you take the rocks? You taking the bridge? Yeah. All right, I'm taking the rocks.
Look, looks a little slippery over there.
Yeah, they were a little slippery. Also, the rock route was longer.
So far, the hike has been very pretty. Very green. Again, we are here at the very end of rainy season. So this might be the greenest that it gets.
1 kilometer down, 2 to go.
Oh, we're both getting pretty sweaty already. I don't know if it's so much different, like the time of year that you visit, because this trail mostly has been shaded for us. But when we had done this trail years ago, it would have been in May. And I remember the trail being mostly sunny and it was pretty miserably hot. So it is significantly better this time around.
So up ahead we see a bunch of horses. We're thinking it's probably the halfway point where you can stop and get some food and drinks. We're doing pretty good. I think we're just gonna keep moving, try to get to the falls as early as possible so we can enjoy it for a few hours and still be to our Airbnb before sunset. As you can see, the option to take horses to the falls is pretty popular. What's up, guys? This is probably the longest stretch of sun up ahead. So the bad thing about this super hot and humid weather is that it really saps the energy out of you, and it does make a hike that normally probably wouldn't be that bad pretty difficult. But the good thing about it is that cold waterfall is gonna feel great once we get there.
Oh, we got another bridge coming up. Skylar, it looks like you can walk through the water if you want to again. But I think I'm gonna go over this bridge.
All right, I'll go down to
You don't have to. You can join me on the bridge.
Once again, Jamie chose the bridge, and I'm taking the rocks. This looks pretty easy. Should not have taken the rocks. If you don't want to get your feet wet, take the bridge, don't take the rocks, because even though they're pretty flat, they are covered in moss and you just slide right off them. Getting close. As you can see, there's a few more people on the trail now. Those are the people that took the truck to get to the point where it's only a 10-minute hike to the waterfall. So that means we should have less than 10 minutes to go at this point.
And after just a few more minutes on the trail, we had arrived at the boardwalk which leads to the falls, where we found restrooms and changing rooms, and a map with directions to the waterfalls.
So the lower falls is where you can swim and cool off. So we're gonna hit the upper falls first while we're hot and sweaty, and then we'll go cool off in the lower falls after that.
I cannot believe how different this experience is. I know we were here several years ago, but this has changed so much. This whole path was not here at all.
After over 2 miles of hiking in the Costa Rican heat, we had finally reached the upper waterfall, and it was every bit as impressive as we had remembered. The falls drop more than 170 feet before cascading an additional 85 feet down to the swimming area below. And while there may not be any spots for swimming at the upper falls, the mist from the falls is still a great way to cool down.
The people who go to the other entrance, that's where you come out from the other entrance.
Now, if you aren't comfortable getting down close to the falls like Skylar, you can still experience the upper falls from this platform, which is far enough away to keep you dry, but still close enough to have an amazing view.
So it does look like if you go to the new entrance point, you get to explore the other side of the river and the waterfalls. So you will get a whole other view over there. It would be cool to go to both places. We just left the upper waterfalls, or we're heading to the lower falls.
On our hike to the lower waterfall, we ran across these guys, and while we're not quite sure what they are, they did seem to be friendly. We did have to climb down quite a few stairs to get to the lower waterfall, but the bamboo railing made reaching it pretty easy. At around 85 feet high, the lower falls is only about half as tall as the upper falls, but it's still quite impressive. And while the upper falls may not be good for swimming, the lower falls definitely is. And after 4 days of watching Skylar swim in chilly Costa Rican waters, I finally decided to take a swim myself.
Oh, she's finally in.
Oh my gosh. Look at that view. It took a little bit to get used to this, but it feels really good now.
In addition to being an awesome spot for swimming, the lower falls is also a great spot to snap some photos. And since we had these falls almost entirely to ourselves, we took advantage of the opportunity. Now around 3 in the afternoon, it was about time to get going, but first, Skylar had to make an attempt at jumping off the waterfall. Unfortunately, he couldn't find the spot to climb up the falls, so we'd have to wait another day to get in his next jump.
So we are on our way back from the falls. It is clouded over quite a bit, so it's a lot nicer walking back. But I think we're a little bit disappointed. Well, I at least know Skylar is. We were too late for the guides to be on the falls. They kind of assist with people getting up on the waterfalls to jump off. They usually have a rope, and also they just kind of show you where to go up. There was still a guide there that would kind of tell us how to get out to the area to jump off, but we had a bit of a language barrier. And I think by the time
There was a lot of pointing and going like this.
Yeah, he was trying to help us out for sure, but you know, by the time I think you'd figured out what he was actually trying to communicate to us.
I still don't know exactly what he was saying.
Well,
I did swim out to the waterfall.
Yeah.
But it takes so much energy just to get to the fall because of the current. Because normally, last time we were there that I was able to jump, they had a rope connected to an inner tube that they pulled you out to the waterfall in because there's such a current. So just getting out there was a challenge. I was pretty out of breath by the time I made it to the waterfall, and then looking up and trying to find the spot where you climb up with all that water hitting you in the face. You pretty much can't see anything. So
yeah,
I tried, but just couldn't find it.
I think we were like the last 2 of 3 people out at the waterfall, so they were getting ready to shut down for the day. Otherwise, I have a feeling you probably would have rested a little bit.
I would have kept trying, but
yeah,
kind of ran out of time.
Yep. So if you want to jump off of the waterfalls here, make sure to visit between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. They said that's whenever they usually have the ropes available to help. This hike back has been so much more enjoyable just because it feels so much cooler. So we have about a half mile to go to the parking lot, and then we'll be on our way to our 4th Airbnb of this trip.
Yeah, we've already stayed in some pretty cool ones, but I think this one's probably gonna be our favorite.
Well, our dry streak is over. We're finally getting caught in the rain.
Barely, it's only sprinkling so far.
Yeah.
It's probably gonna get heavier, but maybe we'll luck out.
We made it back to the green suspension bridge, and right across that is the parking lot.
And we got, what, like 8 minutes to spare? Cut it a little close, but not too bad.
Yeah, maybe 6 minutes to spare.
With the sun setting right around 5 p.m., we'd only have about an hour to get to our mountain Airbnb before dark. Thankfully, it was only a few miles away, but we knew the roads there would probably be bad. Plus, we still had to get groceries. Fortunately, this Super Platinio wasn't far out of the way and had everything we'd need for our 2 nights in the mountains. As we expected, the rest of the drive to the Airbnb was pretty, but also a bit sketchy, and we were sure glad to be doing it in the daylight. Now, because the property was a little bit off the grid, our directions were primarily based off of landmarks, which is why we were especially happy to come across this waterfall.
We found a waterfall, so we're going the right way.
So this Airbnb host has some great instructions for how to get out here. We just went through a bamboo grove, and a small waterfall was on our left. Okay, let's see what we're supposed to do next. The road turns right there. Hang on. Was there a way to turn it off or not?
Thankfully, the misturn didn't slow us down too much.
So we did make it back to our Airbnb after going to the store, and there is still a little bit of light, but it is gorgeous here. Oh my gosh. This place is up in the mountains, and it is very peaceful. Our view from our little rental up here. The birds are so active.
And while we could have easily spent the day relaxing at our mountain Airbnb, we had things to do and places to be. And those places would lead us down some more narrow and bumpy but absolutely beautiful roads to the meeting spot for our big adventure of the day.
Another road that you just have to go very slowly on, and very thankful to have a 4-wheel drive.
I do wish it sat a little higher because we have bottomed out a little bit.
And while it wasn't perfect, our little RAV4 always got us to where we needed to be, including the office for Pacific Journeys Tour Company. Now, it's not too often that we book with tour companies for our adventures, but since the spot that we so badly wanted to visit was located on private land, we'd have to go there with guides. But thankfully, our guides, Antonio and Priscilla, turned out to be fantastic. After checking in at the office, we had a short drive down another mountain road to where we'd park and begin our hike into the forest.
We got our parking spot for the day right by this bus. I think we're gonna start hiking.
The hike started out quite steep, and in just a matter of minutes, we had some amazing views.
Wow.
That's the ocean back there. It's a little cloudy.
Oh, okay. So water back there, but it just kind of looks like clouds right now.
After several minutes of hiking on a mostly dirt trail, we reached our first section of stairs. Little did we know, we'd be climbing over 3,000 of these on our journey to the waterfall. Thankfully, Antonio had all sorts of information to entertain us along the way, including some about the local tent-making bats.
Because the bats, they fly and hanging to the bottom bend of the leaf. So kind of cut it on the edge. The leaf bends so they make a shelter for the sleeping there.
So we are gonna have lunch in the cave once we make it up here later today. And somebody on a horse brought up all the ingredients this morning. It seems pretty crazy that a horse can make it up such a steep mountain.
Unfortunately, the cave and our lunch were still over 2,000 steps away.
You said when they bring kids on these trails, sometimes they try to count all 3,000 steps, but they always forget. I don't think I'd make it to 100.
We learned that these 3,000 plus stairs stretch over 3 kilometers and took over 2 years to build.
They eat that tree.
Apparently there's a sloth that sometimes hangs out in this area, but not seeing him now. Maybe when we come back.
Yeah. This is a water tree, but you have to know how to cut it right to get the water out of it.
Just to flip it.
After a brief but much welcome section of downhill climbing, we came across some of these beautiful red maraca plants, which interestingly can be used as shampoo for your hair.
We got some bamboo plumbing over here. They say you can drink this water. There's no farms around here, so the water is very clean. We brought water, but it's nice to know if we run out, we can refill our bottles here.
After cooling down with some refreshing mountain water, we continued to make our way up the trail, past more maracas and lots of bamboo.
That bamboo can grow in a day 20 centimeters per day.
Oh my gosh.
Just a short walk past all the bamboo, we reached a spot that we sure didn't expect to find on the side of a mountain.
Oh, this is the garden area? We just walked through this garden area. It's so unexpected to be up on this mountain and have such a gorgeous area with flowers and plants. And there's actually someone up here maintaining it. You can probably hear the weed whacker in the background.
And while we sure were happy to have such a beautiful place to rest, we were even happier when they brought out the snacks.
Oh yeah.
Better than our bananas at home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll probably eat a whole one.
They're very good.
After our banana snack, we took a tour of the gardens, where we learned a lot about some of the local Costa Rican plants. We even got to taste a few of the plants, one of which was particularly strange.
They say they taste like blue cheese.
Ooh.
Holy cow.
So this is a fruit that tastes like blue cheese, smells like blue cheese, and Skylar loves blue cheese. What do you think?
Oh,
It tastes like blue cheese, huh?
it does.
It's
Fresh heart of palm.
the plant is called estococa. So this is pretty much the leaf. So when they are young, you can use this part and eat it like the heart of the plant.
Heart of
If
palm?
you want to eat it, you can try.
Yeah.
In between our snacking, we got to learn a bit about some of the local wildlife too.
You just walk around you.
Oh my gosh.
See, they don't bite.
Oh my gosh, so Skylar has this no biting spider on him because he wants to.
So they're growing cilantro here, which is the stuff you find in the store.
but it's
And
actually-
this is cilantro as well that grows naturally. A type of basil?
Mm-hmm. It smells really good. Is this the one that makes your tongue numb?
Yeah.
I don't want to do it. I don't like that feeling. This is a vanilla plant, and when it flowers, you have to pollinate it manually because they don't have the right bees in the area to pollinate it.
And also they use this to make the bags for import the coffee. They have to be in these bags. See how strong is this?
Really strong.
See?
one
So
string.
what they do, they get a lot and a lot, and embrace it, and make a big, strong ropes.
Next, we got to learn about the cacao plant, which you may already know is used to make chocolate and should not be confused with this next plant, which sounds similar but is very different.
This is called cocaine
Cocaine?
tree.
Really?
See? They use it in Peru. They use it when they climb to the
leaves?
Machu Picchu because this makes you get better air and helps with the altitude. ¿Cómo es que llama esto? Basil? Oh, no.
What's it taste like?
Romero, tomillo.
Bitter.
Better? This
Yeah.
is what you would chew if you were climbing Machu Picchu?
Yeah. It's gonna be bouncing off the wall.
The rest of the hike to the waterfalls was all pretty much a blur. Just kidding, we really didn't feel much effect from the coca leaf at all.
Moving on from the garden. Yeah, it's like we're in the clouds a bit. Yeah, gosh, it feels great.
Look now, it's so cloudy.
Yeah, he said normally you can see all the way to the ocean.
Yeah.
But today we've just got a nice cloud view. Going up again.
Up to the swimming hole, and then we'll go down to the cave.
This way we don't have the steps.
No steps. And you really feel that you're in the clouds now.
Through the cloud to get to the pools.
Nice place to take a break. Before we head up that way.
As we continued to hike upwards, the clouds only seemed to get thicker and the views were non-existent, but Antonio's endless knowledge of the land continued to keep us entertained along the way.
I'm looking for this because I peel it, boil it, and use it for bait, for fishing.
Really? What kind of fish eat that?
We have a freshwater fish, it's called machaca.
In the river?
Yeah, in the rivers.
Our rain luck has finally run out, but that's all right. We're gonna make it up here anyway. It does feel pretty good, and we're gonna get wet in the water anyway.
At least the rain has cooled us down even more.
At least we got the rain on this hike and not the one we did a couple days ago. That was up a even steeper mountain that was covered in clay. That clay would be so slippery right now. Whereas this trail, it's a lot of rocks, a lot of roots, so it does get a little slicker in the rain, but still pretty easy to navigate. This is why you should bring a dry bag even if you don't plan on swimming.
Yeah.
As the rains got harder, the trail seemed to only get steeper, but Antonio assured us that we were almost to the top.
We're getting pretty high now. I think we said the highest elevation that we'll get to today is around 3,000 feet.
1,000 meters.
1,000 meters? Yeah, around 3,000 feet.
We have reached the high point of the hike. We're gonna go down now towards the pools. I think we can hear a little bit of the water already. And the rain, I think, has stopped. This is very muddy though. You can hear the squishes.
The hardest work is over. Heading down to the pools.
We have made it to the water. Oh, it looks so nice.
Don't film me because I'm probably gonna fall. She has much better balance than I do. Okay. All right.
While Skylar's river crossing was far from graceful, he did make it across relatively dry. And after going down a few more stairs, we reached a beautiful blue swimming pool. And while a dip in that pool did sound amazing, we were even more excited for the next one.
This rock is so slippery.
Okay.
This part, especially here.
Oh my goodness.
When we walk by the moss.
You walk on the moss.
Yeah, the moss here.
You want to
Not
walk on
there.
the moss.
Okay. Like on the edge, this moss is dry, it's not too wet. You can jump from here to there. Okay.
So we left Skylar at the top of the waterfall. We're hiking down to the bottom so we can watch him jump from the top. I had no idea he'd be jumping from so many waterfalls on this trip, but I know that he loves it. So I'll go down to the bottom and video him.
Ooh, this is a big one. Ready? Oh, it's freezing. Holy cow.
Since Skylar's jump went off without a hitch and getting to the top of this fall seemed relatively safe, I decided I'd give this waterfall jump a try too.
All right, Jamie is gonna jump.
I didn't know I want to do it anymore.
You want to do it?
It didn't look as high.
You want me to count you down? 5, 4, 3.
I can't do it.
You can too.
No, I can't. I chickened out. I couldn't do it. I was too worried about my back.
But I probably should have been even more worried about walking on the rocks.
So over there.
Oh, you okay?
Yeah.
Thankfully, I was fine and so was our GoPro. And after another successful jump off the waterfall, Skylar was feeling pretty good too. The rest of the trek to the cave would involve a little more uphill hiking, but thankfully it was mostly down.
So this part of the trail is known as the Puma Trail, I guess. And they have actually seen pumas on it.
This is where the puma
Sharpens its claws.
See?
Great. He's
Right there, yeah.
Oh, that's from a puma.
You can see more.
With the thought of a puma lurking somewhere on this trail, the thought of the waterfall jump no longer seemed quite so scary. Thankfully, we'd have another opportunity to get our adrenaline going just a short hike away at the next waterfall.
We are on to the rappelling portion of this adventure.
Ready?
Yeah. It was probably going to be a little scary, but I'm excited for it. And I know Skylar is. So I think he's saying we're going to go over that. Oh my gosh. Are you nervous? No?
Yeah, helmet.
Yeah.
Indestructible.
Oh my gosh.
While I definitely felt far from indestructible, I followed Antonio and Skylar's lead to the top of the 90-foot waterfall.
We're going over that edge. Whew.
While Skylar and I both rock climb and had plenty of experience dangling off cliffs, the introduction of millions of gallons of rushing water made this activity a bit more terrifying.
Easy from here down, okay? Just walk a little bit, maintain your feet straight into the rock. Now your heels not your heel or your toe.
Okay.
Straight in the rock. Feel your body sitting in a harness. Okay?
Okay.
And I slack a little. Walk. I slack a little bit. Walk. Okay? Now how you going down.
After receiving some great instructions from Antonio, Skylar was first up to rappel down the falls. And while he didn't seem to be at all scared for his personal safety, he was very afraid of dropping our GoPro.
Yeah, that's where the rock is really slippery.
Yeah, when you get off of this cloth, it's much, much slipperier. My main fear right now is dropping this GoPro.
I, on the other hand, was much more concerned about me falling than the GoPro.
Oh no, the blanket's ending. It's gonna get slick. Okay. Oh my gosh. Oh. Yeah, it's slick.
Surprisingly, I think I was less nervous during the rappel than Skylar was. And while the transition off of the blanket was a little bit scary, I became pretty comfortable soon after.
So the trick is, you just take your time. You do a little bit of slack and a little bit of foot moving.
Never rappelled before, this is our first time. I can't think of a much cooler place to do it for the first time. The main thing I think right now is just not getting startled and letting go of this GoPro. I definitely got a death grip on it right now. My hand is actually getting pretty sore.
So they are right, like the very top part, when you're just first getting over, is the hardest part. Like once you're fully in the harness using the system, it's much easier. All right, so this green rope here means I'm getting to like a step area. So I might be hanging soon. Woo! Oh my gosh, that's so cool!
Wow, this is nuts. I love it though. So now, as you get further down it, when you're free hanging, you don't have to feed it through nearly as much. It does just kind of go down on its own. You just have to kind of guide it.
Now I'm just hanging with this waterfall in the background. Like, how freaking cool is that? Ah! I don't know if I'm supposed to turn or not, but I am. All right, here we go, here we go.
And while even Skylar will admit that this rappel is a bit scary at first, the views of the falls and the canyon below make this unforgettable adventure well worth the extra $53.
If you ever decide to go rappelling and want to do it somewhere really cool for the first time, I would highly recommend this. It was awesome.
Yeah. And there's Skylar!
Glad you did it?
Yes, I would definitely recommend doing the rappelling option. That is so cool.
While the rappel down Diamante Falls sure did deliver on the excitement, our tour was far from over, as we'd still get to enjoy a fresh Costa Rican lunch in a cave before hiking all the way back to our starting point. Now, the thought of eating lunch in a cave may not seem too appealing to many, but this was definitely not your average cave, and we couldn't wait to see what was on the menu.
Yeah! That's a huge area under here.
We were quite impressed to find that this cave not only offers a fully functioning kitchen, but also several places to sleep for those who book an overnight tour in the cave. And while we only booked a day trip and wouldn't be spending the night in this cave, we'd still get to enjoy it for an hour or so before making the hike back down the trail. We took some time to explore around the cave as our lunch was being prepared, and we found that it also offers showers, restrooms, and all sorts of amazing views.
This is the view from the bathroom out here.
Before we knew it, our lunch was ready, which included these vegetarian organic tacos. Not only were they delicious, but we also learned that they were made with all locally sourced ingredients, some of which were actually grown in the garden on the property. While the fresh food was great, the highlight of our meal had to be these views, and we both agreed that this was surely one of the most beautiful spots that we've ever enjoyed a meal. As Antonio and Priscilla cleaned up after lunch, we took a few more minutes to soak up our tranquil surroundings before making our way out of the cave and back onto the 3-kilometer trail. We left the caves grateful for the experience, but wishing we would have had more time, and if we were to do it again, we'd definitely book the overnight stay.
That mist was pretty chilly, wasn't it?
We'll warm up fast though on this hike.
Yeah, we sure will. My gosh, it was so nice hanging out in that cave behind the waterfall. How many places can you do that? Yeah. I'm sure other places, but
this is a very cool tour.
No places we've been to yet.
The hike back down the trail involved a little more rain, a lot more fog, and even more stairs, but it did have a few highlights, which included finding this huge Costa Rican centipede, our first toucan sighting, and chatting with the local howler monkeys.
What kind of monkey is that?
Howler.
Oh, it's a howler?
Howler monkey.
Make it do it again. It doesn't respond to me.
On the hike back, we also got to drink some fresh mountain water from the bamboo pipe.
What do you think of that fresh mountain water? They'd probably charge you $3 for that in the grocery store.
Probably. As cool as it would be to hike this in full sun without the cloud coverage, I'm really enjoying being in this cloud. We just don't get this in Florida.
So allegedly the ocean is over there.
Yeah, sure. See?
Still cloudy on the way down, but that's all right. We have enjoyed so much of this hike. We just have to come back and do it again on a clear day.
Yeah.
Getting down under the clouds again. It's a little bit clearer here. But gosh, we came down a lot of steps.
Gotta get back before sunset.
I know. The stairs are a bit muddier than on the way up. Gosh, these views are so good.
You can see the ocean right in there.
After a few more stairs and quite a bit of mud, we eventually made it back to civilization, where we hit the road in search of food and one more waterfall. While it may not look like it from a distance, according to CostaRica.org, this waterfall is Costa Rica's tallest. In fact, the largest of the Diamante waterfalls spans 600 feet in height and is located not far below the cave we were just at an hour or so earlier. With the sighting of Costa Rica's tallest falls checked off our list, the only things left to do were to grab dinner and get home before dark. Thankfully, Restaurante Mama Sandra was located just down the gravel road from Diamante Falls.
We stopped by this soda that was recommended by Priscilla. And Skylar has made a gato friend. Just keep petting me while you order and eat your food. Skylar trying to try my blackberry juice while this cat puts its tail in his chin.
And his claws in my leg.
Ooh.
The recommendation for Mama Sandra's turned out to be a great one, as my fresh blackberry juice was perfectly refreshing and our food was really good for the price.
Take a look at all of this food. I ended up with a fish casado, and Skylar went with some sort of chicken and a mushroom sauce, and we did nibble a little bit on the way home, and it is very good. And of course we stopped by the mini super, and Skylar got another bottle of wine.
Our 7th day in Costa Rica started off a little bittersweet, as we were excited for our drive to San Jose on Route 2, but reluctant to leave our little mountain Airbnb behind. While this Airbnb may have been simple, it had everything we wanted, including a comfortable lounger, a dining space for two, a fridge, and a hot plate and toaster oven. It also had a bathroom with a walk-in shower, and up this flight of stairs it had a loft with a huge king-size bed. But most importantly, this Airbnb had great views from almost everywhere in the house, and at around $110 per night, it was a pretty amazing deal as well.
These flowers attracted the hummingbirds, so every morning we were able to watch the hummingbirds fly around these beautiful flowers.
But after 2 wonderful nights in this Airbnb, sadly it was time for us to go, but not before another toucan sighting on our way out.
Adios, toucan.
So this was the hardest Airbnb to get to with the roads, but I think it's also the hardest for us to leave because it is just gorgeous up here and very peaceful and secluded. But it's time. We're heading to Dominical and then to San Jose. I'm not gonna miss having to be a passenger going down this road because I have not driven it. And I'm sure Skylar is not gonna miss having to drive up and down it.
It's not my favorite.
And it could be worse.
Yeah, you just gotta go so slow.
Yeah, at least these roads, there's no like concern that we're gonna fall off either side of it. We've definitely been on roads like that before.
True.
We did eventually make it back onto the highway and on our way to Dominical, but by then it had started to pour.
It's a little wet outside, so you're gonna have to deal with footage from the inside of the car right now. And I'm sure Costa Ricans are like, this is nothing because we are here at the end of rainy season. I do think some of the mountain roads are not passable during the rainy season when they've gotten a big rain.
So we decided to stop off and wash our car mats in the rain because our car mats were pretty dirty from all of our hiking. But we've got a nice view of this rocky area. Even though it's super cloudy and raining quite a bit, it's so cool to see.
It is.
Cleaning our shoes so our mats stay nice and clean as well. All right, let's go find some breakfast. So we were hoping to go to this breakfast spot called Porque No. Apparently it is temporarily closed. I don't know how long it's been temporarily closed. Instead we are going to the brewery because it opens at 7 a.m. I guess they must do breakfast.
My type of brewery.
Right, so we'll find out though. I see a sign in there that says coffee vibes, so that would be awesome if they got some good coffee too.
We were excited to find that attached to Fuego Brewery is Fuego Coffee Roasting Company, which in addition to its coffee vibes, does offer actual coffee as well. And after placing our coffee orders, we made our way upstairs to find this beautiful pathway in the trees. And at the other end of that pathway, we found one of the most unique breweries we've ever seen, and the perfect spot to spend a rainy Friday morning. Skylar was excited to find that even at 9 in the morning, at this brewery you can get a beer. But first we'd have to drink our cappuccinos, which were strong, creamy, and tasted amazing with a little bit of local honey.
Before Skylar finished his coffee, he already has ordered a flight because we are at a brewery. This is a Guanabana Ale, then we've got a Mango Pale Ale, we've got an Espresso Porter, which they use their own coffee beans, and lastly, he's got a double IPA here because he can't order a flight without an IPA.
While Skylar was more than happy to drink all 4 of these beers, his favorite was the Espresso Porter made with Fuego's house-roasted coffee beans. And while Skylar enjoyed his beers, I enjoyed this beautifully presented fresh fruit while awaiting the rest of our breakfast. Our remaining food order wasn't too far behind and included the Eggs Benedict for Skylar and the avocado toast for me. And while this Eggs Benedict was far from the Eggs Benedicts we're accustomed to, it was really, really good. As you can probably see, my avocado toast was bright and colorful and tasted delicious. We both agreed that this wonderful meal in this beautiful tropical setting was the perfect way to cap off our 4 days in the Uvita and Dominical area, but we were excited to hit the road for our next Costa Rican adventure. Unfortunately, that road was still very wet and rainy, but at least we'd have over 6 hours to get to our San Jose Airbnb before dark.
All right, guys, it is about 11 a.m. and we are on the road to San Jose. And at the moment, it actually isn't raining, which is great because as you can see, Jamie is driving and it is very hilly and very curvy because we are taking the Highway 2 route back to San Jose and then up on some of the highest roads in all of Costa Rica and through the area known as the Hill of Death. We're so glad we're gonna get to experience it in the daylight because it is supposed to be very dangerous at night. Now, because we were able to get our coffee, our breakfast, and our beers all in one stop, it saved a bunch of time and allowed us to get on the road really early. And since we have so much extra time to get to San Jose now, it should be a lot of fun, but maybe also a little bit scary. Hopefully we don't encounter too heavy a rain, so wish us luck.
After about a half hour on the road, we had made it to the city of San Isidro, where the elevation would begin climbing pretty quickly.
Jamie successfully made it through downtown San Isidro. It was a bit of an adventure. It's a very bustling city.
Yeah, it was a lot busier than I was expecting.
Soon we'll be in the really high mountains.
As we make our way further up into the Costa Rica mountains, we want to thank you for coming along with us on our Costa Rica adventures. And if you've enjoyed this series and don't want to miss any of our future travel and adventure content, be sure to subscribe to our channel and turn the notifications on.
So we just keep going up and up, but we have noticed a change in the vegetation. We haven't been seeing as many palms and ferns and stuff. It's just a much less tropical landscape. Definitely have entered a different climate zone. It does look like we're going to continue to keep going upwards for a while. Thankfully, the road conditions are still really good, and we are in no hurry to get to San Jose. We've been driving in the mountains probably for about an hour so far, and I think we are approaching a town called Division. We should hopefully find a bar or a restaurant to stop off at, take a little break. So it was quite foggy for a while we were driving, but now it's pretty clear. But when you do pass through an area with a view downwards, you can see nothing but clouds below. So it actually seems like we're probably above a lot of the clouds right now.
Yeah, you're right. Oh my gosh, it's so much clearer up here.
So we did stop off at this soda a little over an hour into our drive, and it looks like we could have ordered lunch here. They had quite a bit to offer, but we're not that hungry, but we had to try an empanada and some of their fruit juice. So we're just waiting for it to be ready now. There's a lot of dogs here. Hi! There's one up there, one here, one there. I know a whole bunch of people just came in here and ordered some food, and it smells really good, whatever she's cooking. And somehow there is great service up here. Here we ordered a pineapple juice and a blackberry juice. And I can smell our empanadas already.
Now our empanadas did take a little while, but that's to be expected considering they were literally made from scratch. And while we had a feeling they'd be pretty good, we weren't expecting them to be this big.
So these two fresh juices and these two giant empanadas were only like $6 total. Carne empanadas, right? Made from scratch on top of a mountain in Costa Rica. What do you think?
Okay, so those empanadas were hands down the best we have ever had.
And the biggest.
Yeah, so we watched her like get whatever dough it was, smash it down, put the meat inside, then put the top over it and fry it. Freshest, made to order empanadas. Highly recommend.
And they were what, $1.50 a piece?
Oh my gosh, yeah, $1.50 a piece, somewhere around there, close to that. Yeah, I think everything we ordered, the 2 empanadas and the 2 drinks, we thought it's like $6 American.
Yeah, so if you want to find inexpensive food in Costa Rica, you just have to drive all the way up into the mountains.
But along this drive though, we have noticed there are sodas all along the way, different restaurants. Some of them would have really good views on a clearer day. So far, we would recommend this drive, but we still have half of it to go. So I think you're gonna take over now?
I am, and it is only not even 1 o'clock, so we still got 4 hours till sunset. We're good.
We got time. As we walked close to this dog, it just rolled over. Like, come and pet me, please. It actually
Got more fur since he's a mountain dog.
Yeah, definitely furrier than most dogs we've seen on this trip.
Yeah,
but
much
it is a
cooler
lot
up here.
cooler up here. Yeah,
It is.
it absolutely is.
Oh,
A little
here comes
chills.
another one.
Hola. Oh my gosh.
Still going up.
As the road continued to climb upwards and signs of civilization grew less and less, I was glad to be back in the passenger seat, and Skylar was definitely happy to be driving.
All right, we're back on the road. Skylar is driving, but I just wanted to talk about how we ended up at that place. We thought we were gonna go to this other little town that I think Skylar might have mentioned earlier, but I think we just blew past it without even realizing that we drove through a town.
Very small.
Yeah, so then he just hopped on his phone and he used his Google Maps that he had downloaded prior to this trip, because up here we do not have the best reception. So if you do plan to drive anywhere around in the country, we would highly recommend downloading those Google Maps ahead of time. He was able to look on the road ahead and see if there was anything as far as a soda or a restaurant, and saw that that little place was rated like 4.7, because without that we definitely would have kept on driving. We actually initially drove past it and then turned around to go back to it. And we are definitely still in the clouds. I know, Skylar, you just started driving, but what are your initial thoughts?
I love it.
He loves it. It's not really a surprise though, but we can totally understand why people recommend not driving it
Oh,
at night.
I would hate it in the dark.
Yeah.
Because there's no lights and it's constant, pretty sharp curves. Lots of steep hills.
And
The
you
road
have to-
itself is great though, so as long as you can see good, it's fun, but at night in fog, it would not be fun.
Along this highest section of Route 2, we did see several signs for rock slides, and we learned that it's not at all uncommon for sections of this road to be completely closed due to rock slides following a big storm.
So we do think we've reached the high point on this drive. I think we're going down in elevation, but it has started to rain.
We're thinking we're in like a national park maybe right now, because we haven't seen a house for miles.
We do keep seeing signs to watch out for these animals that cross over the road here. I'm not even sure what kind of animals they are.
We're really hoping we see one.
Yeah.
We later learned that the animal on the sign is known as a Baird's tapir, which is the largest native land mammal in Central America. Sadly, we never did see one, but if you ever have, let us know when and where in the comments.
So I do think one of the reasons this road is so dangerous is just the way that people drive on it. There have been several places where people have been passing on double lines, and you know, if you don't slow down, you're probably going to hit them. So that is a little nerve-wracking, but we haven't come too close to anything like that. So the rain has picked up quite a bit on our drive here, but we're just taking it slow. And something we have been doing is, if there are people behind us on this road and we feel like we're holding them up, whenever we find like our pull-off area, we just get to the side and let everybody pass, so that way we can continue on our way and not feel pressured to go faster than we would like to.
After driving over an hour through national park land and seeing almost no signs of civilization, it was a welcome sight to finally see some houses down in the valley below. And we knew that meant that before too long, we'd be checking into our high-rise Airbnb in San Jose. And after one more quick stop for fresh juice and a little more driving, we had finally reached San Jose and the Airbnb that I was so excited for.
So there was another reason we wanted to make sure to get that drive done early today, and that is because Skylar saved the very best Airbnb for last. Now we'll show you more of it here shortly, but take a look at this. We are on the 27th floor of Urban Escalante, which according to Wikipedia is the 5th tallest building in Costa Rica.
I'm pretty sure the 4 taller ones are all right over there in downtown San Jose.
Now, in case you are wondering exactly what around $125 per night can get you for lodging in San Jose, we're going to show it to you. After spending some time relaxing, enjoying the amenities, and taking in the views from our Airbnb, it was time to hit the town on our last night in Costa Rica. After a week full of gorgeous beaches, big hikes, and bigger waterfalls, we gotta admit, we were exhausted, so our night on the town in San Jose ended well before midnight. But we did find time to grab a good meal at the Jardín Lolita food court, which had a great selection of food and drink options, and was just a few blocks away from our Airbnb. And of course, Skylar couldn't end the night without enjoying a couple Costa Rican beers, while I saved just enough of my appetite for a delicious cup of ice cream. Our 8th and final day in Costa Rica began with some much needed coffee, which we sure didn't have to go far to get.
Oh, that's very full. And they even give you a stir stick, and you don't even have to leave the apartment.
It's nice.
Yeah, you come up to the top floor here and you can have a nice view, although today it's pretty cloudy.
The weather was a bit gloomy, but we didn't mind, as all we had to do on this day was fly back to Florida. We hope you enjoyed coming along with us on our 8 days in Costa Rica. If you'd like to join us on any of our other adventures, then go ahead and click on this playlist now. Thanks for watching!